Ricciardo's incredible performance at the Mexican Grand Prix has sparked fresh rumours of him taking Sergio Perez's Red Bull seat in the near future. Although Red Bull's team principal, Horner, has said Perez will not be kicked out before his contract expires, one can't be too certain due to his recent below-par performances. However, whether or not Perez is given the boots before next season, there is one question that needs to be answered. Will Daniel Ricciardo be the ideal replacement? At the Mexico Grand Prix, several notable incidents happened all at once. There was the incredible overtaking stint that Lando Norris pulled off, which took him from 17th position to a hard-earned 5th place. The outstanding performance of Max Verstappen, which earned him his 16th win of the season. The heartbreaking crash Sergio encountered, which made him lose his chance of becoming his hometown hero. And of course, Ricciardo's mind-blowing performance led to him earning points for AlphaTauri. During the weekend in Mexico, many people noted how fast AlphaTauri was. In fact, the head of trackside engineering, Jonathan Eddles, explained that the reason behind the car's incredible performance was because the car was mechanically good. Despite this fact, no one expected Daniel Ricciardo to perform so well, especially due to the fact that he was just recovering from an injury. The Aussie driver had gotten into an unfortunate accident at the Dutch Grand Prix that led to him breaking his wrist. It was so severe that he had to undergo surgery and physiotherapy, so the team's reserve driver Liam Lawson had to take up the wheels during the period he was away. Then, during the US Grand Prix, Ricciardo returned to the grid with claims that his wrist was healed enough for him to take up the wheels. At Austin, many were expecting to be dazed by his performance, since they knew the Aussie was always at his best after being away for a while, but nothing happened. He qualified at 11th, finished the sprint 12th, and the actual race was not any better. Some immediately chalked up his poor performance to his wrist injury, saying he wasn't fit to return, but the AlphaTauri driver debunked the claims, saying it was just race rust. Indeed, it was because his performance at the next race was much better. The 34-year-old driver had qualified at P4 during the Mexican Grand Prix and was going to finish the actual race 5th or 6th, but a late red flag and some intense race battles against Lando Norris, he dropped a couple of spots and ended up finishing 7th on the grid. No one even minded the drop in position. Most people, including Red Bull's top team official, couldn't stop discussing his incredible performance. Red Bull's team principal, Christian Horner, shared in his post-race media session that Ricciardo's performance on the grid served as a confirmation that their decision to return him to the racing tracks was a good one. It was great to see Daniel performing so well. He fully endorsed the reason why we brought him back into AlphaTauri just prior to the summer break. I thought he was outstanding this weekend, fighting a Mercedes in an AlphaTauri. Had it not been for the red flag, he would have finished further up. When McLaren announced last season that they were done with Ricciardo, the Aussie driver had nowhere to go. Although there were openings at teams like Williams and Alpine, he said he was done with teams at the lower end of the table, and he would rather stay away from the grid than join them. Then, towards the beginning of the 2023 season, it was revealed that he was joining Red Bull as the third driver. That move was one many applauded, because it was evident that his plan was to get back on the team where he shone the most. However, after a while of being a reserve driver, an opportunity arose for him to take a seat at Red Bull's sister team, AlphaTauri, and he grabbed it. Nick de Vries was the driver who initially had the seat, and the team hoped he would be good enough. But after a set of very unimpressive performances, the team's advisor, Helmut Marko, decided he couldn't watch the team crumble further, so he began searching for a replacement. Fortunately enough, during that period of searching, Ricciardo had blown everyone away with his performance at the Pirelli test at the British Grand Prix. This was the point when Helmut Marko decided that no one would be a better fit for AlphaTauri than Ricciardo. The Aussie driver had ulterior motives in his mind as he accepted the role. He knew that participating in actual races would give an opportunity to practice and showcase his skills. It might further cement his name in the mind of the Red Bull team when considering a replacement. So far, it's working. Horner recently shared that he's aware of Ricciardo's plan to return to Red Bull, but it won't happen until 2025, after Perez's contract ends. At the moment, there's only something in place until the end of the season. There are no thoughts and expectations beyond that. We have loaned him to AlphaTauri until the end of the year. Obviously, our drivers are going to be Max and Checo again next year, but it's always good to have talent in reserve. I think the way Daniel is viewing AlphaTauri, he firmly wants to be pitching for that 2025 Red Bull seat at his golden objective. Daniel Ricciardo is no doubt an amazing driver, but would he be good enough for Red Bull? Currently, Sergio is being placed under pressure over the gap between his and Max's performance despite being second on the table and being on the podium a couple of times. So is it possible for Ricciardo to do better than Sergio and compete closely with Verstappen? Based on the Aussie's poor performance at McLaren, it's hard to say if he would actually do something amazing if he handed the Red Bull wheels. The 34-year-old mostly blamed his poor performance at McLaren on the team's car, but if he was the better driver, he would have performed better than his teammate Norris. No one's saying Daniel isn't a good driver, but is he good enough? A driver who would have been the best candidate to replace Sergio in 2025 is Lando Norris. In fact, Helmut Marko has tried to reach an agreement with the driver and his manager, but it seems his heart remains with McLaren and is not ready to leave yet. If Lando was in a car as good as Red Bull's, he would have been a really close title contender with Verstappen. We can see that based on his recently improved performance at McLaren, now that their car is much better, besides Lando, Aston Martin's star Fernando Alonso would also be a good fit. In fact, rumours have begun circulating that the Spanish driver is seriously considering a move to Red Bull, especially with his contract at Aston Martin ending the same time as Perez's. However, the theory of him moving has been debunked by an F1 analyst, who has close ties with Alonso's management. They revealed that although they won't mind getting a seat at Red Bull, the chances of getting it would be slim, especially with Ricciardo being an option. As much as they admire Alonso and what he can do, he is not above Ricciardo, as far as I understand it, as an option to drive for that team next year. This is not coming officially from the team, but it's not going to happen. Some senior people have told me that Alonso's management have been doing their due diligence again and assessing whether there are any better options for him next year. Perhaps that has been inflated into he's going to take Perez's seat rather than Ricciardo. Someone else who's been eyeing the Red Bull seat besides Ricciardo is his teammate Yuki Tsunoda. When Nick de Vries was Tsunoda's teammate, he was the lead driver, and he automatically assumed he would get an upgrade to Red Bull after Perez left. But Ricciardo came, and it looks like his chances have gotten slimmer. However, the Japanese driver might not have to worry too much about getting a Red Bull seat, because a seat at the new Honda-affiliated team Audi might be waiting for him. Currently, the Red Bull seat is inarguably one of the most coveted right now, and the team would have to make the right choice in determining who would ride alongside the great Verstappen. When the time comes, it's certain all forms of sentiment will be pushed aside. So what do you think about Ricciardo getting a Red Bull seat? Kindly let us know in the comments section. Also, don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.